So it is now 7:32 p.m. on March 4th, 2025. I'm officially opening the Boxborough Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. And the first item on the agenda is minutes. And the second is to review correspondence. But I think if the applicant is here, we can just get him done as early as possible, and then we can move on to administrative affairs, unless there's an objection from any of the board members. Is everybody okay with doing that?
Yep.
Okay. But before we begin, it isn't on the agenda, but I don't know if everybody is aware, but we only have Stefano on the board for a few short months now because he's decided not to seek reappointment, which I think is really unfortunate. You've done a really good job on the board, and I want to thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
And I am going to write something to the select board to say that Than has, even though he's not here now, generally speaking, he's here and he's helpful. So I'm going to just let them know that personally. And you guys could also do that if you want. I'm going to just say as a resident who's observed him on the board, because I think it might be easier than putting it to a vote, because we didn't get it on the agenda and now we'd have to hold a separate meeting. So. But if you guys want to do that too, feel free. So with that in mind, I'm going to read the notice for the meeting. So 1146 Massachusetts Avenue special permit. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, the Boxborough zoning bylaw, Section 6.5 for signs, 2.2, the Board of Appeals, and 2.3 special permits, the Boxborough Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 at 7:35 p.m. I am a little early. I didn't realize that was there. So we'll just hold off taking any testimony until we hit that time. To review the application submitted by the property owner, Robert Lunnan of Element, to amend the existing special permit for number 1998-08, the applicant seeks to replace the existing signage. So it is now 7:35, and I see Robert Lunnan here. Can we unmute Robert? Hi, Robert.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Oh, and I didn't take a roll call vote, Robert. I apologize. I'm not following protocol. So before we get started, I'm just going to do a roll call vote of the board members that are here as I see them. Mark White.
White present.
Stefano Caprera.
Stefano Caprera present.
Sean McCormick.
McCormick present.
Michael Toops.
Michael Toops present.
And I'm present, Mark Barbadoro, and our town planner is present as well. So Robert, sorry about that. Please feel free to let us know about your project.
Yeah, sure. So we actually completed this project in 2023, at the end of 2023. And I want to apologize to everybody. We hired a company. So basically what happened in 2022, the company was called National Technical Systems. And what we did was just convert the signs that said NTS to our new company logo, which is called Element. And unfortunately, this seems to be a step we missed in the process. I think it's page, boy, forgive me. It might be page 6 on the package that I submitted. We did receive a permit to replace the signs back in 2023, August 29th of 2023, and we moved forward with the sign replacement shortly after that. So again, I apologize if we didn't follow the right process, but when we got that permit that we submitted in the package, we assumed that we had the proper approval to move forward. So all we did essentially was the zoning approval that we got back in sometime in the late 90s. We took those signs, the same size, the one out front is the same size. It just has a different logo. Is that enough information? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I have some questions for our town planner, who I think has some additional information. Alec, did the town of Boxborough issue any permit to Mr. Lunnan with respect to these signs prior to them being erected?
To the best of my knowledge, no. It looks like what has been run here is a report, presumably off of our online permitting system. The benefit to an online permitting system, I can get into it in the meantime, and I can run this permit number to see if something was issued. Maybe it was stalled midway through and never finally issued, but we can get you an answer live on the meeting tonight as I go through that in the background right now.
Okay, and Mr. Lunnan, I noticed in the packet that there is a fine for $600. Did the building inspector notify you that the signs were erected without the benefit of a special permit for the signs?
Yes, and that's how this kind of came to light. We didn't know we operated not in accordance with the town ordinance, and that's how we were alerted that we were not within regulations.
Did the building inspector notify you before giving you the fines, or did he just go straight to fines?
That's a good question. I believe we got a notice for $300, and I think we were delinquent in replying back as a company, and it got upgraded to $600. And we're perfectly okay paying whatever fine or anything that's necessary.
Okay, I would imagine, I don't know for certain, but I would guess that the building inspector probably tried to contact you before giving you fines. Alec, do you know if there was any contact initiated prior to the issuance of fines, or was it straight to fines?
No, it's my understanding from Ed that contact was attempted on at least one occasion in writing prior to issuance of a fine. Typical process would be 2 attempts prior to fine, usually 1 in writing, and then get a hold of the most recent number available on the file. I know at least 1 attempt was made. I'm not sure if a second attempt was made.
Okay. All right. So I know most building inspectors typically don't start with fines. They usually start with a letter. So that sounds more consistent with my understanding of how Ed conducts business. So I think you were notified. Maybe you didn't receive it. I don't know.
Yeah, no complaint there. We probably did receive it. We're not challenging that in any aspect. One of the challenges that we had, not your problem, it's our problem. We changed corporate offices and things like that, and a lot of our information changed. So we very well could have got alerted a lot earlier during this.
Okay. The other thing that I've noticed, well, actually, I'm going to open it up to the board and let them discuss what they see with the application. Has the board had an opportunity to review the planner's report and comfortable asking some questions to Mr. Lunnan? So does anyone have any questions? You can raise your hand or just call it out, whatever you want to do. Sean?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So can you help me understand I'm seeing in the planner's report that the signs were changed to be more non-conforming than they were. So the signs were non-conforming with the sign bylaw before they got swapped out, right?
Yes, that is my understanding in reviewing what was previously on the signage based on these measurements provided.
Okay, so were the signs before they were swapped out consistent with what was authorized in the 1990s era special permit?
So that's where I still have, unfortunately, some question marks. Looking at the decision itself, the written decision doesn't reference these directional or accessory signage. Unfortunately, by the time I really dove into it today, I was already outside of the office, so I haven't had the opportunity to review what was in the list of exhibits. So the list of exhibits from the old permit does include here the plot plan, the entrance with the stone wall and pine tree, and design and detail information for proposed sign. That leads me to believe there was only one sign at the time, but I have not put eyes on it, so I can't confirm. Given the age of this permit, I do expect we probably have a copy of everything that was submitted. 1997 is not far enough back, but we do not have a digital record readily available to me.
So the signs in question that are proposed are actually installed already, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to let the board know then that there would probably be no harm to the applicant if we had Alec review the application, the prior special permit application, to determine whether the signs are the same size, or as it appears on the spreadsheet, the new signs have increased the nonconformity. So we could find out more definitively, perhaps, if we had the old application. It's just a thought.
Yep.
So what else do you see, Sean? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, I mean, that was my question, but I guess the reason that I'm asking is that if we're talking about if we're talking about signs, the old signs, so before replacement, if they were authorized by the special permit, it just so happens that now we have, different or more stringent sign regulations, then I would put this in the category of we have at least, I think, the legal authority to say, well, this is an expansion of a non-conforming sign, and we can authorize that on a finding that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I think that if the old signs were non-conforming because they just didn't follow the special permit, then I think we're a little bit more constrained in being able to authorize it. So that's why I'm asking, because I think it's a question that may have some bearing on what we're able to do here.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Alec or the applicant?
Mark, I will note that I've pulled up, I've gone onto the staff side, the back end of Permit Pro, our online permitting system, and I do have available to me, and we can look at it now, the application file for this one. Do you want me to pull that up?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. And maybe you could help by interpreting it, because you're far more familiar with the permitting system.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our publicly accessible building permit system. It does have an archive element, so any member of the public, applicant, or individual can search things without a login. Because I have the login, I can actually see where individuals have checked off and issued their approvals and items. So we can see that we did receive an application on August 29th, and it appears on September 12th a permit was issued. However, the file was never closed out, so we never actually closed out the project and confirmed that the construction had been completed. So I believe that's in part where the error comes from. I am a little surprised to see the permit was issued in the first place, but nonetheless, the project had never been closed out. Fast forward to now having enforcement and this item before the board.
So I would interpret that to mean that the permit was inadvertently issued in error, and that it should have waited for a special permit before the sign permit was issued. So error on our part.
That's correct. I believe so.
Okay, thanks, Alec.
Yep.
Any questions or comments for the board?
Frustrating to be in this position. So my question is, the contention that the original directional signs that were inside, I never remember seeing those. So is there any evidence in the record that those were ever there or ever permitted there?
I think, Mark, I think what we need to do is I would like to see the record, and Alec doesn't have it readily available. So I think I'd like to see it before we vote, and I don't think the applicant would be harmed in any way. His signs are up, you know.
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, I would like to review the old packet if Alec could find it.
Yeah.
And if I could just say, we want to be 100% in compliance and do this 100% the right way. So whatever we need to do to approach this and do this correctly, you know, we're on board 100%. And again, I apologize. We were under the impression that we followed the right procedures back in 2023.
Well, yeah, I think that there's enough evidence that there wasn't a clear explanation at the time for you, so that it would be hard for you to understand that you weren't following procedure. So I don't, you know, I understand that it appears to be an honest mistake. So
Right.
At least that's what I'm seeing so far. So, you know, the question is now, what do we do? And I'd really like to see the packet of what was approved originally, if we can possibly find it.
Yep. So, Mark, I'm happy to prepare that. For reference for everybody, what's going to have to go into that? Mary and I are going to go through the files located in the clerk's office, pull the envelope for the specific address. We are going to have to digitize the materials, but generally during this time frame, things were fairly well cataloged. That is pre-Mary with the town of Boxborough, so I can't guarantee it's perfect, but we'll do the best we can with what's available to us to provide a copy of every exhibit.
Great. So, what does anyone on the board object to the notion that we continue this to a time and date certain, and give Alec an opportunity to go through the records? Anybody object to that, or have it? Okay.
About a motion to continue the hearing to what date, Alec?
I'd put that question back on the board as a whole. We are at the start of the month of March, so presumably 2 weeks out, but of course I'd want to double check with board members that you have availability on what would be Tuesday, March 18th.
What was that again?
Tuesday, March 18th.
Make a motion to continue the hearing to Tuesday, March 18th at 7:05 p.m.
7:30?
Sorry.
Oh, 7.
7:35.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So moved by Mark White and seconded by Stefano. Any discussion? Oh, we have a time. Okay, we're good. Any discussion? Okay, Michael Toops.
Michael's. Oh, sorry.
Just a quick, it's not so much discussion. Was there a town planner report in the package? I saw everything else but that. Was
Yep.
that? Okay.
So I uploaded that later this afternoon, along with a copy of all the routing sheet replies. Those had not been added to your packet, but I did my best to do in less than a page, just summarize the application and note the only nonconformity that I found in reviewing the application.
Okay.
And to summarize, what Alec found was that he deemed the other signs on the property, not the principal freestanding sign, as accessory signs. And in the IC district, they would be allowed to be 6 square feet, and they're more like 36 square feet or something like that. They're fairly large. So, and if the table is right and the signs have been enlarged, then that is a consideration about something that we need to deal with. And we're gonna review the original packet and see if there were accessory signs, and B, were they approved, and were they installed the size that were approved. So I think that's where we're kind of where we're at right now.
Mark, if it would be valuable as well before we do the motion and close the hearing for tonight, something else I am going to upload is a copy of the zoning bylaw at that time, specifically the sign section and the definitions for accessory signs, so that everyone can be aware of whether accessory signs were even hypothesized at the time of the original permit.
Oh, that will be helpful. Thank you. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. It has been seconded. We have discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mark White,
White eye.
Stefano,
Stefano, aye.
Michael Toops,
Michael Toops, aye.
Sean,
McCormick, aye.
and Mark Barbadoro, aye. So we'll see you back. Thanks for coming in, Robert, and we'll get it. We'll have a clearer understanding at the next meeting.
Got it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I guess next on the agenda would be the minutes of January 21, 2025. Alec, if you don't mind, could you put them up on the screen? I've reviewed them and I'm satisfied, but if any board member has any corrections, we can entertain those. Has anybody read through and seen any problems? I didn't. I thought it was fairly straightforward.
Hold on, I'm still in the ZBA folder. No, I downloaded the packet when the link first came up, and I didn't get all the most recent stuff. So now I have to go back to download the damn packet again. Hold on. Actually, Alec, just put them up. Why don't you do that? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yep, they're up.
Want to scroll up a little, Alec, if you don't mind? Oh, I'm sorry, the other way. Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 21, 25.
Second.
Moved by Mark White, seconded by Sean McCormick. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mark White,
White eye.
Sean,
McCormick, aye.
Michael,
Michael Toops, aye.
Stefano,
Stefano Capura, aye.
and Mark Barbadoro, aye. Okay. One more item down. We don't have meetings like the planning board has to suffer through. I'll tell you that much. They were up till almost midnight working very, very hard yesterday. Let's see here. So the only thing I see left is the update on the Board of Appeals rules and regulations, and I have an idea how to move forward if we don't have any comments from the board members at this time. If we do have comments, we can go through them if you'd like. Does anybody have any comments or updates that they'd like to bring up? Michael?
Yeah, we got a couple. Question on 1918 under variances about deviating from specific dimensional requirements in zoning bylaws. Do we have variances that are actually not related to dimensional requirements? It seems like we're only saying you can either have use variances, which are not allowed by law, or dimensional variances. Are there other things that would not technically be a dimensional requirement?
I only know our bylaw says we shall not grant use variances.
Right, I understand that.
Yep. And you're saying, is there anything other than a use variance that wouldn't be considered a dimensional variance? Is that right?
Correct.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Because I'm wondering if I guess, yeah. That's the only thing I'm struggling with there. Is there something that would not be technically a dimensional setback or something requirement that would be a variance that could be issued by the board? So I'd have to go back and look more at the code. I'm wondering if there are things that or whether it's most of these are triggered by the, actually, if you had a variance having to do with any of the wetlands or something requirements, that may not be dimensional. That's what I'm wondering if there was such a thing that the board might be trying to grant.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, we are going to do a flood zone bylaw, and that does have a variance allowance in it. And that raises the question, is that's going to be in the zoning bylaw, Alec? That flood zone requirement?
Yeah, I was actually just bringing it up here because I was trying to. The very few instances in the Boxborough zoning bylaw does the term variance actually come up. If we jump from instance to instance, you see the floodplain district. It arises twice in our existing regulations, and the variance procedure is further defined in the upcoming revisions based on the 2020 model floodplain bylaw. Any variance from the provisions or requirements of the above referenced state regulations may only be granted in accordance with the required variance procedures of these state regulations.
So who will be the appealing authority for the flood zone variance?
So the planning board will have to determine that. So I believe if you do when you do the model bylaw, you have the opportunity to make it a border committee. You also have the opportunity to make it an independent individual employed by the town of Boxborough. The board hasn't dove into that section of it yet. We didn't get too into the meat of it, only because I'm still wrapping my head around it, having picked it up secondhand myself.
Well, I guess my only comment now would be that we should make sure that we go through the bylaw and clarify the variances now that Michael's brought up, that raised the question about variances. And we clearly are going to have a variance that could well be a use variance coming up. We might need to modify our language to say, notwithstanding, flood zone variances, the board doesn't grant use variances or whatever.
We thought the use variances were explicitly meant with the use tables where things like flood zone is not actually an intended use of the property. So that would not fall under a use variance, but it falls under some third category. I don't know how we phrase it.
Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, so we're looking at the definition section of the rules and regs.
Correct.
And so I think why not just call for 1918, a variance could be defined as an official dispensation to deviate from a specific requirement of the zoning bylaw. And I think read in conjunction with 1.9.17, that covers everything we could imagine. And likely some things that we can't even imagine as we're sitting here today. But
yeah, I like that.
Possibly
My
come
first
up.
thing with reading this was wondering whether or not just dropping that language would get rid of the restriction.
Yeah,
We're thinking the same thing. Michael was thinking what Sean was thinking, and I don't necessarily have an objection to that at all. I might even say, moving up to 0.17 to say, unless expressly permitted. We could just strike all of that. We could just say use variances are prohibited because that's what it says in the zoning bylaw. I mean, it's use variances only that are prohibited. So
I would actually take a different approach where why not give a meaningful definition of a use variance? They're still prohibited.
Okay, that's not a bad idea.
A use variance is a dispensation, blah blah, whatever, however you want to define it. And then I actually like unless expressly permitted by the bylaw, use variances are prohibited. But I'm not sure that is I'm not sure that doesn't help you understand what a use variance is, right? Like if you're reading these rules and you're like, what the hell is a use variance?
No, it's a great point. I think if you want to come up with a functioning definition and bring it back for the next meeting, Sean, that would be really helpful. Well, see, whenever you open your mouth, I always try and put the burden on you.
I'm making a note.
You're the man. Mark,
It
I saw
also
your
speaks
hand
to
up,
it
but
though
then
in
Michael.
4.1 applicability in accordance with section 2.2.2 of the bylaw, no variance may authorize a use or activity not otherwise permitted in the district. So I mean, it speaks to it again later. So I don't disagree with Sean to put it in the definitions because I always like thorough definitions. So
What, Mark, what section were you referencing? I just want to pull it up.
variances for section 4.
Okay.
So 4.1, the second paragraph.
Yeah. I mean,
Because there's a lot of talk here about what variances. Well, not a lot, very little.
yeah, look, I mean, I think reading that and then in conjunction with those two definitions, I think it all hangs together.
So I just have a comment. The use variance, where is that referenced in the rules and regs? I see the definition. That's not what I'm referring to. Where else in the rules and regs is it referred to?
4.1.
The second paragraph of 4.1 here highlighted.
I don't see it. No variance. There's no defined term there. So the only reason, I mean, this is coming from my a contract interpretation point of view. If you're going to define a term, it needs to be used. If it's not being used, and we're just generally referencing a variance and describing a use variance, then just take the definition out or insert use variance wherever you're looking to insert the definition.
No variance may authorize a use or activity not otherwise permitted. So it doesn't speak specifically to the words use variance.
But I need help from you guys. Are we trying to define use or are we trying to define variance?
No. So I just want to be clear on this. I don't really care about use or variance. I'm just saying if you have a term in a list of definitions in any document, and then you proceed to define that term, it should be used in the document. If it's not used in the document in exactly that capitalized reference, so you know you're referring to that definition, it's totally okay to still refer to the use variance, and then people can refer to the bylaws and in conjunction with the variance for further info, but we don't need to define it. Unless in that paragraph that we're talking about, we can reword it to insert the defined term. But it may be overcomplicating that. I'm just trying to simplify that part. We can take it out.
Yeah. So in other words, if there's a definition of capital U, capital V use variance, then 4.1 can say something like, in accordance with section 2.2 of the bylaw, use variance, capital U, capital V, are not permitted, or something like that.
I like letting the lawyers work out the lawyerly words.
Yeah, because unless expressly permitted by the bylaw, use variances are not prohibited or are prohibited. Like, that's not a defined term. I just feel like that's just like a clause. Like that should just be in that section. Listen, it's totally fine if you want to leave it in there as long as it's clear, but I just, it's not a defined term to me the way it's written under 1917.
So are you saying don't capitalize it?
So like, okay, this is a good way to do it. Use variance. If you want to say, what is a use variance? A use variance is a variance that applies to the use of, etc. Obviously, our bylaws say we can't do that. So then under that paragraph, you would then say use variances are not permitted. So then someone can expand on to, okay, well, what is a use variance? That's what it is. And we in that section say it's not permitted. So that's how you would use that. Yeah. Like the defined term of variance is good. An official dispensation to deviate from a specific dimensional requirement of the zoning bylaws. Or I'm just reading, sorry, I'm not reading I'm reading my copy. That's not revised. But that's good. So I would just generally describe what a use variance is, and then the other section just say you can't do it.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So that the use variance one really isn't a definition, and maybe just say it's a use not allowed by and point it to the proper table from the bylaws. So, I have some additional ones if we want to move forward. Or are we still on this one?
My understanding from the discussion here is that Sean is going to generate a definition for use variance, and then under section 4.1, we'll simplify down the second paragraph to read simply that in accordance with section 2.2.2 of the bylaw, use variances are not permitted.
Okay.
Okay. So, what's your next? Does the board mind if we move on to Michael's next point? Okay. Michael, what's the next one you got?
The next one's really simple. 1.9.21. I don't think we live in the town of Stowe.
Catch.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah. Wonder where that came from.
I have no idea.
That one must have come from Stowe.
Next item. There's some numbering stuff that appears to be inconsistent, like on in 2.4 it refers to section 2.4.6, but looks like the numberings don't do it in that style. Maybe it's 2.12, I'm not sure.
So the entire thing, right, from stem to stern has been renumbered because I was combining sections. So anything referenced in the text, any number is going to be wrong. It's something we have to go through.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was auto numbered or if it came forward.
So,
but that's great that you're
2.12.
pulling it, pointing it out.
Yeah. 2.12 then is what that should be.
And I have a question on 212, actually. Did we come to closure on how many copies we really need of everything? And what about electronic submissions? And I know we have some legal requirements for filing the stuff, or has that changed? Or do we have the ability to do some things electronically?
I think this is a combination of what board members need. Some board members need paper. I don't need paper. I don't like paper. And then there's statutory requirements, and then there's what does the staff need in order to complete their project. So it's our issue. It's also Alex's issue to figure out. We need to figure out how many we need. But I'm telling you, I need everything electronically in addition to whatever paper is needed.
Yeah. Mark, I believe at a previous meeting you had asked that we actually talk to Mary in the office about what typically she's seen come through. Her recommendation was 3 copies of everything. 1 copy for the staff file, that would be the permanent file copy that never leaves the town hall. An additional copy that would be available to board members if they wanted to come in, review it, potentially take it home, and then a 3rd copy that would be available for members of the public. In addition, what I would recommend is that we include the requirement for one. In the planning board ones, I think it used to show up as a CD for electronic copy, a USB flash drive provided at the time of application, and then I believe. And Mark White, you might remember this too. I think we had included a caveat language saying that the town could request further copies if necessary. Was that right?
Yeah.
Gotta have that. Just, based on the scope of the project, additional copies may be required.
Yeah.
Because it could be a roll of plans the size of a frickin' tree trunk, and and there may be multiple departments that need to review it.
So I'd say put in like a minimal amount, that you need, and then add that to the end of it that says we could request more depending on the application.
What also arises in this process is revisions. So the same rules would apply to any revised copies of it. We are supposed to keep a record of each revision thereof. And so, for example, if only the full-size plans or only the plan set was to be revised, what we'd seek at that point is 3 copies of the revised full size, and we would only ask for 11 by 17 if there was an express interest in people seeing those.
I'm okay with that as long as you also, whenever they give you a revision, give you a PDF as well.
Yep.
Is there, and this may not be appropriate in this section, just let me know if it isn't, but is there any way to generally increase the scope if so determined by the board, meaning that if we need additional information or details, or that might be in another section. There's something similar in section 3.4 for the stormwater report. It kind of just generally states we can ask for more info. That may already be in there, but I just...
Been so long since I've looked at this, I've completely forgotten what's inside it.
It probably wouldn't hurt just to include a caveat that the board may request additional materials at the time of public hearing.
Right. Yeah, and so you can pull the same language from that section as reasonably determined necessary, or even determined necessary by the board. I'm just, it's never occurred, but if we ask for something and then they say, no, that's not part of the application, I've submitted the application as per the rules, please make a determination.
There's a better section for this to go in, though, than right here, because this is about copies and not about information. But I think it's a great idea, but I think it just belongs elsewhere in this.
And honestly, it may already be elsewhere. I'm just bringing that up. I'll take a look.
Okay. I got a couple.
And a couple more, but
Well, why don't we just finish with Michael's, if that's okay?
I didn't know
Okay.
if Michael was done. He stopped talking.
all right. Thought of a not so silly question. Section 6, newspaper of general circulation. Is that becoming OBE? I know the Action Unlimited is changing format and something. I'm not even sure who's an allowed newspaper of circulation anymore.
So municipalities are given quite a bit of leniency in selecting these. At the time of the Beacon's closure, we had started using the Action Unlimited. Now that's before my time with the town, but it's my understanding that we had confirmed with KP Law that it still met all the requirements for it. Despite the fact that the Action Unlimited now has switched its model and is no longer necessarily delivered to every household. At least it's my opinion that it still fulfills the requirement, because the Beacon was never delivered to every household, only to those that were subscribers. But the town clerk and I were actually speaking of this earlier today as well, given the sheer number of public hearings that we have going on simultaneously. We are going to get a renewed legal opinion, and so when that's provided to confirm if Action Unlimited is still acceptable, I'll leave a note in here and let the board know as well.
Okay. Next question, 641, which says the applicant has the burden to persuade the board by preponderance of evidence. I guess the question is that the legal standard for the board to make its decisions, especially for discretionary items, or is this language where is this language the board is actually under state law, or is it just shows up here?
So I don't know if it's in any law, but I do know that it was in the original rules and regs.
Oh, okay.
That came from our original rules and regs. I like telling people that it is their job to prove their case. So they have to provide evidence, and the evidence, the level of persuasion also has to be provided. So they understand that they are coming to make their case, not walking in and going, "You can't prove me wrong, so I'm going to do whatever I want." But
Okay.
I think we could strike that. But
if that was in our previous rules of rights, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to understand where it came from.
I'll actually I'll highlight it and send it to you because it's an important. I think it's important. It was in there before. It's in the a lot of the rules and regs of the town of Boxer. I saw it in the flood, the wetlands rules and regs. Same exact language.
Okay. Well, I noticed in 651 we have the language. Chairmen should preside at the meetings and may administer oaths. Are we expecting? Do we normally expect to administer oaths during witness testimony? I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the language "may" there.
I think the law that used to authorize that has been stricken, but I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, saying we may doesn't mean we will. But then again, you don't necessarily want me when I'm in a really bad mood to try and play the Star Chamber with some guy who's got a sign permit application. So I don't know. You guys decide what you want.
Well, if the law that had that language in it's no longer in that form, maybe it goes away, maybe not. I don't know.
I have seen zoning boards that do it this way, where usually it's like at the outset of either the meeting or at the outset of a new agenda item, they will say something like, and anyone who is giving testimony tonight is, and then they sort of do the oath that way. But there are definitely towns who still take this seriously. Now, whether or not they are, anachronisms, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, if it's in there and we want to use it, then we can point to it. But if we don't want to do it at all, we could strike it. But I'm fine leaving in stuff that it came from our bylaw, So I don't know. I'm okay striking it, or I'm okay leaving it. What do you guys think?
I'd leave it. It's a link to the history too of how the boards operated when they were a lot more formal than we are now.
Yeah, I would leave it.
And it's may, not shall.
Yeah, it gives us the option if we want to lay down the hammer.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah. No, the chairman shall preside and may administer oaths.
Yeah.
Summon witnesses. See, so that does it for me.
Yeah, I'm good either way. Question 6.6, is that new or from our previous regs?
Isn't all the red is all the red still, Mark?
I have to tell you, as I was editing, I was changing colors just to remind myself to go back, and that was after I'd combined it. So it's not as significant. The color changes was only there as a reminder to me to go look at something. But yeah, the term recommittal, I remember that in our existing bylaw, but I mean our existing rules and regs. But yeah, I believe it's original. to our bylaw. Everything in there is original to some bylaw because it's either Stowe or us, but I remember it in our bylaw.
Okay, I guess the only question I would have, I don't have a problem with having that in there, but does this trigger like renoticing of a public hearing if that path is taken? And what about fees and other silliness like that? It's not obvious from reading that, or at least in my quick read earlier today. Or is that supposed to be done prior? No, it says after public hearing. Does that mean the public hearing can be closed before the recommittal is decided? In which case, do we have to renotice a new public hearing?
This provision is unfamiliar to me. Like, this is not something that I've.
Yeah, I said I don't remember this.
This feels like a holdover from a different era.
I'm trying to figure out what it really says. Did somebody boil this down to me into like simple words?
My quick read of it was if the board is about to reject something, we can go back to the applicant and say, try again. Before we reject it, because we rejected, he can't come back for 2 years.
Right, and that's a common provision in rules and regs that you see. It's the second half of this. The time periods shall be deemed to begin running upon the adjournment of the public hearing. That's not making sense to me. That we don't want the time periods to run from the adjournment of a public hearing. I think that this should be married up with the section on continuances, which is going to say that we can grant continuances, but we can also require an extension of all those deadlines in section 9.
Well, the other thing I struggle with is if the board's deciding there was insufficient evidence or failed to present sufficient evidence, how does the board make that decision without rejecting the permit? Because I thought the board couldn't do would that qualify as a straw poll under the state regs, which we can't do? I'm struggling with this whole section as to how it fits into what we can and can't do, especially if you close the public hearing and then start trying to do this.
You can withdraw your application without prejudice anytime before the beginning of a hearing, right? And so if you are during the hearing and the board goes, you didn't really give us enough information, then we were to deny it at that point with prejudice, then the guy, as Sean said, wouldn't be able to come back for 2 years. So this is giving them how to, I guess, get out. You don't have enough information, and if the change happens and it's substantially different, you have to hold a public hearing to amend the application in the manner set forth above. So I think it sounds to me like it has to do with if you provide sufficient information and it doesn't substantially change the application, it can be heard at a later date. But if the information substantially derogates from the original application, then you need to renotice and restart. Is that? Mark.
Here's a simplified version of the text. I love ChatGPT. If the board decides after a public hearing that the applicant hasn't provided enough evidence to support their application, it can inform the applicant of this decision before making a final ruling. The applicant will have the chance to revise their application or provide more evidence. The applicant must also file a document with the board in a format approved by the town council stating that certain time limits will start after the public hearing ends. If the revisions or new evidence are significant, the board must hold another public hearing before making a decision on the updated application. that's kind of what I was looking for, is a simplification of it. And so I'm okay with the premise. I guess I just don't like the way that it's written. I mean, it's somebody else's bylaw. I can't imagine this was ours, but if it was, it's old.
This is some old language, yeah.
Yeah.
And the old language, it's like Old English in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, to elaborate on Mark's, I guess what I'm struggling with is, if the board during the public hearing tells the applicant, we need more information, I don't see a problem with that. If the board closes the public hearing and then says, oh, we need more information, then you're at the point where the board should be making a final decision. I'm struggling with how this fits within the laws the board has to operate within. If we decide after closing the public hearing that we didn't like the application, but we're going to give you another chance, because normally if the application was rejected, they don't get another chance. So that's what I'm struggling with. Over.
So, Michael, I think that was actually a helpful way of understanding this. I think what this is saying is that let's say that we have a public hearing and we're like, look, the board is inclined to, like, we agree with your legal interpretation, applicant, but we're not sure that the facts match up. So if you submit us facts, we'll just approve the application, and we don't need to have another public hearing on this. I think that's what it's saying. I don't know that that is anything that we want to get ourselves involved in, but I think that's what it's saying. It's like you can basically supplement your application and then we'll act on it without having a new public hearing.
Michael.
I guess the question is, are we allowed to go there without accept further testimony from the applicant or documentation from the applicant without a public hearing?
It doesn't seem like a good idea to me, especially since since we have mechanisms. We can grant a continuance, so we can by written agreement, extend our constructive approval deadlines. That's a tool we have, and we can also, allow a withdrawal without prejudice, which after the hearing starts, we need to sign off on that. It's like they can only withdraw without prejudice with the consent of the board. That would require a new application and a new public hearing, new notice, all that stuff. This seems like a way of kind of splitting the difference, where it's like, look, we're not just going to pause the deadline, have you come back for a new public hearing, but we're also not going to make you withdraw it. So we're going to adjourn the hearing. The deadline, the timeline will start ticking. You submit us the materials that we asked for, and if it's not a substantial change, if it's just, evidence in support of the original application that we didn't see at the time, so it's not a substantial change, I think what this is saying is we can approve it. But if it's a substantial change, then we need a new public hearing.
It's also giving a time limit. It's telling you have, the time limit prescribed in 40A to get us the information.
Right, because once we close the public hearing, we have to render a decision within 90 days and file it with the town clerk within 14. So those are, I think, the timelines that would start running from the adjournment. My gut on this one is that this is complicated and not consistent with just current practices. And
does anybody have an objection if we strike it then?
If it wasn't in our old bylaw, I'd say yes. If it was, I'd kind of try and understand better why it was there. I think this is giving somebody the opportunity to make one last pitch, but like Sean said, we already have a mechanism for that. So I don't know. I just like so. Is this is more for our consumption, I think, than for the public. I mean, it's for both. So it's our rules and regs. So it's kind of something we turn to when we say, well, okay, in this case, maybe we should apply this paragraph, this thought. So I don't know. I mean, does it give us something we don't already have, or is it already laid out elsewhere? If it is, then get rid of it.
So I just pulled up the old bylaw, rules and regs. I beg your pardon, and it is in there. Our old rules and regs.
So somebody put it in there on purpose, right? To clearly state that we might, prior to making our decision, advise the applicant and give them an opportunity. I think so. I mean, we have to ask ourselves, do we want to do that?
Michael.
Well, I think the reason that probably showed up in that manner is that if the board closes the hearing, starts its deliberation, and decides it's missing key information, and therefore wants to go down this, path of going back for a recommittal or whatever, without rejecting the permit because it decided it was missing some information. Though I'd be happier if the board could make that determination before closing the public hearing, but I could see how that could happen, where you end up in the board discussions and somebody raises a point and it's like, oh, well, we didn't think about that earlier, but you're right, we're missing this key piece of information. So I understand where that could come from. I'm just struggling with how to do this cleanly without running afoul of other things.
I don't know.
I think we should. I think we should come back to this one. Let's see if there's a case law or something. I think this is something that should be researched. I understand having a rule that we can follow for these circumstances where we either want to close the public hearing for whatever reason, but during our deliberations we want additional materials. That could be valuable, but something about this is there is like a red flag for me. I think we should make sure that it's consistent with recent amendments to Section 9, and I think this is a provision that requires some looking into.
I agree, and I think why don't we just move on from it right now, because I don't think we're going to have any answers. Michael, do you have any more?
Just one last one, I believe. Two, but one's silly. 619, my only question is I didn't get a chance to go look at our bylaws, but I was trying to see whether or not we normally have the capability under our bylaws to entertain a new application within the 2-year limit if we decide it's. Are these points from our bylaws or somebody else's? I didn't get you.
You do have the ability, but it's got to be deemed not substantially similar, and it's got to be voted on by the planning board and the simple majority of the planning board and the zoning board of appeals to rehear it.
And that's by statute.
Okay, that's what I was just checking. So that's okay. Good. Yeah, the only other thing is we don't Section 8 meetings. We don't meet at 6 p.m. on Thursdays, at least not currently. Other than that, that falls into the renumbering stuff. So that must be is that Stowe's meeting time?
So I think I'm probably gonna spend a little more time on this myself, do more cleaning up and editing. when we get done tonight. I mean, I won't do it tonight, but between now and the next meeting, and try and just start picking away at the spelling errors, the bum references, the numbering that's not right, and stuff like that. So I'll pick up that kind of stuff. Is there anything else you see, Michael?
No, that's all I got in a quick reading. Over.
All right. Mark, what do you see?
Hold on, I gotta get back to my notes. What's this? That. Go. I want that. All right. The gender neutral language we need to put in there. All the he needs.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's kind of a word search. Some weird spelling things I picked up, like 6.9. The affirmative vote, if 4 members of the board, should probably be of 4 members of the board. Voting requirement. That you never catch that one with spell check.
Right.
Right. What was the next one? 6.18.1. The board may modify or amend any decision within 20 days after copy thereof has been filed, but no substantial modification or amendment shall be made. Why did I highlight that? Hold on, I'll go by that because I highlighted it and I forgot to write down my note for what it was. 7.3, I spelled clerk right. Get rid of the C. Article 8.1. Our regular meetings are 7:30 p.m. on the second Tuesday instead of the 6 p.m. on the third Thursday. So that was probably a stove. Oh, those poor guys, huh? 6 o'clock. Oof.
I like those hours. I prefer to, I get up at 4 in the morning. I'd rather have the meeting start at 6. Have it start at 5. I'd be happier.
No, got to eat dinner at some point. I mean, basically, I'm happy with most of this. I mean, Mark, if you go back and clean up the typos and get all the numbering in order, I think this is a good blend of the two bylaws, except for the stuff that we've tripped on. So I'm pretty good with this.
So we have an assignment for Sean, and we have a section that we don't, we may also be asking Sean to look up, but we have a section that is nebulous, and we don't know if we're going to keep it or reword it. Understand it anyway.
Mark, Mr. Chair, with apologies, I have to leave this meeting early tonight.
Okay.
Gentlemen,
thanks for coming.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, Sean. Thanks.
Bye, Sean.
Anything else? No? Okay. All right. Well, I think I was going to say I was expecting you guys not to have anything, so I was preparing to just say, oh, I'll just take the next, couple weeks and do some spell check and stuff like that, but awesome.
Do you want us to comment just on the last version sent, or Alec, do you want to send this one with those little notes you put in? And I know we had a couple comments for revisions and stuff. We can put in our input, or do you want us to wait until you have like a consolidated draft that we revise?
What do you think, Alec? I don't care either way.
If between now and let's keep it short, why don't we do Wednesday, the 12th. So a week from tomorrow, board members want to add in any additional comments. I can merge the drafts together and then we can publish it in our packet for the meeting of the 18th. And that way it won't run afoul of open meeting law and we can get a last round of comments before accepting all the changes and revising it down.
Okay. And
Circulate this draft because this draft was edited live on a meeting. You all can receive a copy and manipulate it.
Okay, great.
are you going to get Mary to look up that old sign application?
Yes, so I already emailed her when we were debating one of the sections in here back and forth. I emailed her to break down and also as a reminder for myself what we need going
Awesome.
for that sign one.
Okay. All right. Well, that's done. So let's see. I think that might have been the last item, but I'll just double check. Yeah, I think that's the last item. So if anyone wants to make a motion to adjourn, or if I'm missing anything.
I just want to, I want to thank Mark for doing all the work on that, because I mean, it was a lot of work, and I know, Mark, you've been banging away at it, trying to get it done, and we wouldn't get this done if you hadn't pushed us to the goalpost.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. And I just don't, I didn't want to have it just be mine. It's gotta, you gotta hear the comments from everybody. Just because there was something in the bylaw 100 years ago, and because they have it in the Stowe bylaw doesn't make it right. And if you guys want to strike it, reword it, change it, we can do it. So, Stefano, so you're gonna be around until the end of your term?
Yes, yeah.
And
I just wanted to give you a heads up. Just maybe we'll sniff around for some interested parties. I'll send them your way.
I bet Dan wants to do it. So we'll see.
Oh no, I would. Yeah, and I'll definitely. I don't know. Can we propose a candidate to the board or the select board, or is that something that we
just send him an email and just say I enjoyed working with Dan, and I it'd be nice if he was appointed if he wants it.
Yeah, like I also
show up.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend him as well. I just think he's a good fit.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Are you still going to be involved in town stuff, or are you checking out?
For now, checking out. I might circle back. I'm not going anywhere, but.
Gee, you should probably think about planning board sometime. Did that ever interest you?
Not right now, no. But
you could also.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll be around town for foreseeable future. That's for sure. So.
Well, we could demote you to the associate member, and then you don't have to show up except when needed. I mean, this.
Well, for now, I'm gonna step away. But thank you. Like I said, even outside of that, I meant like I'll start asking people to see if there's other people interested, and I'll send them to the board's way. So.
Well, it's true, because if we do put Than forward, then we're going to need an associate member.
Yep.
So we should all be thinking who that could be. So we're going to miss you there.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's been a pleasure. And obviously, I'll be around to the end of June, not going anywhere early. So.
All right. Well, it's 8:45, and I'm ready to call it quits. Anybody want to make a motion to move on? I mean, Mark's a freaking night owl. Likes to be up at midnight on a planning board meeting, but
yeah, so does Alec. Alec's speechless now. That's funny.
Alec, you should get like an inflatable person and just like when it gets past a certain hour, just flip the switch. And it's
like the autopilot on the movie Airplane.
Exactly. That's exactly what you should do.
For an hour, he turns into an inflatable person.
Yeah. I was thinking just one of those travel neck pillows. That way I can just keep myself propped up.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, there was.
Is there a second?
Yes, there was.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. Stefano.
Aye.
Mark White.
Right, aye.
Michael.
Tube side.
And Mark Barbadoro, aye. All right.